What's up everyone, Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. So yet another one that came out on the 11th of February that I definitely wanted to go over was the newest offering from Amorphis, Halo. This comes out on Atomic Fire Records, which is a relatively new label and already has a pretty cool roster from what I looked at, including Meshuggah and apparently a distribution deal with Opeth. I had no idea about this label up until now. I just knew these guys were on Nuclear Blast for a long period of time, and now they have a new label. Now this is their 15th full length. They formed in 1990 in Helsinki, Finland, and their style has shifted around a lot over the years. They started off as one of the early death metal bands from Finland, kind of pioneering that sound of Finnish death metal, then moving into like proggy melodic death metal or just straight up kind of prog rock for a while, and then kind of maybe settling into melodic death metal, but again with sort of a proggy flair to them. It's kind of a hard band to describe, and it's one of those where if you get into a certain era, another era might not appeal to you. I remember, I believe I got into Tales of a Thousand Lakes first, and I really enjoyed that album. And then I got into Elegy and Tuonela, and pretty much fans of those albums told me, I was like, oh, don't listen to Carillion Isthmus. That album's fucking garbage. It's just shitty death metal. Fuck those guys, they were wrong, because that album fucking rules too. And then I started getting into their later stuff when the new vocalist Tommy Jotson, I probably screwed up his name. I'm not going to attempt to go over a lot of their names just because they're Finnish and very difficult to pronounce. But I got into that era too, and honestly that era has put out a lot of killer albums as well. I generally go for the older stuff, but I was a big fan of Under the Red Cloud, and Queen of Time I thought was really good, so I was really eager to check this one out. And this album is very adventurous and very grand. Here lately, Amorphis is not afraid to shy away from giant epic songs and really showcasing how broad their musical wheelhouse is. You have folk elements, you have straight up like classic heavy metal elements, you have progressive metal, you have melodic death metal. It's kind of all in this interesting hodgepodge, and then you bring in a lot of world music sort of influences like sitars, ouds. There's definitely like a Middle Eastern vibe on some of these tracks. Female vocals, string sections, and their keyboardist does an amazing job layering all this sound with very different synths. Great example, opening track Northwards kind of builds up tension with these really cool, lush, very 80s synths, and then it goes into almost kind of earlier Opeth. Like, it's giant in terms of its scope. Like, the riffs are huge. There's a proggy feel to it. The lead work on here, absolutely amazing. Essa absolutely kills on here. Every song has some clever melodic hook, and it's generally due to his lead playing. But this song is built around some really cool riffy hooks. Tommy's vocals, both harsh and clean, which he can do both exceedingly well. Just kind of switching back and forth and just, you know, matching the dynamics of the music. And then it gets into this really cool bridge, which bridges are really fun on this album. Even on like more straightforward songs, because there are some that are just a little bit more straightforward rockers. Generally, the bridge kind of goes for a walk and kind of explores some different sounds. This one goes fully into like Deep Purple territory. You get the Hammond organ that comes in, which I fucking love that sound, and really cool proggy leads and melodies. Excellent song. And that proggy sound is really carried on Windmane and The Moon especially. The Moon leads in like a metal version of a Pink Floyd song with that kind of like weird David Gilmour kind of delay like you'd hear on, you know, Another Brick in the Wall or Run. But again, getting fiercely more metal, and these songs have giant choruses. Most of the time, the flow of this in terms of vocals is generally very harsh vocals along the verses and then a giant clean chorus. And the clean chorus on Windmane is absolutely fucking beautiful. And those sorts of dynamics really create like cool mood shifts in the music. Like, Windmane is very playful. It has this cool off-time rhythm. It has this really just kind of fun flow to it. And then this chorus comes in. It's just very epic, but also very somber. And then you have these dreary melodies kind of behind it. And I don't know, like, again, mood shifting all throughout that song. And that whole mood shifting thing is definitely carried on very different songs. The song War might be one of the heaviest. It has a very straightforward, like, kind of death metal riff to it. And honestly, like, the riffs aren't necessarily death metal, but they are heavy. Like, you get a lot of cool syncopated chugs on here, but when it comes down to flat out riffing, this is a very death metal sort of sound on this one. But Tommy's vocals on here are exceptionally harsh. He even gets kind of up a little bit in his growl range and kind of delivers some more like throaty, raspy growls. But then you have this very somber, reflective chorus. And it's so different, like it kind of comes out of left field because you think it's going to lead up to this big, epic, just powerful fucking chorus. And it's actually more like somber and reflective. Like pretty much the verses are the war itself, and then the chorus is reflecting on all the carnage and life lost. I don't know, it might be that deep. I might just be reading into it a little bit much there, but that was the kind of feel in here. And this is a really cool, like sort of emotional journey because I feel like there's almost a story on this. Like the songs When the Gods Came and When Seven Roads Come Together. Those two feel very paired up. They're both very epic and grand. When the Gods Came is driven by a really cool syncopated chug, like it's kind of a classic heavy metal feel, but it's like a fist pumping anthem. There's even like war drum accents, like this is like an Amorphis sort of pit spinner, except you're wearing chainmail and might be wielding an axe that you smuggled into the show. It's possible. I've been to Amorphis shows. I've seen dudes in full fucking chainmail in the mosh pit. And I'm pretty sure we told him, like, dude, you're fucking asking for it. They are gonna try to hurt you now. But I also saw people with like paper mache fucking Viking helmets. Actually, I saw someone that knitted one, which that's pretty fucking cool. Anyway, that's a Amorphis, but this kind of has that sort of feel, like the anthemic battle song. And then Seven Roads Come Together kind of continues that battle, except you're on horseback because it kind of picks up the pace a little bit. It's got a really cool synth lead in, and then when this main riff comes in, it's awesome, but it's that lead melody on top that Essa put on there that is absolutely epic and triumphant. Like you actually feel like you're gonna win that war. And this is one of the songs that throws in those really cool Middle Eastern or maybe Indian melodies. There's a Middle Eastern scale that is in the bridge that I think is really catchy, but there's also a lot of other stuff in there that might be Middle Eastern, it might be Indian, like it's kind of those same sounds. On the Dark Water, which was one of the singles, the whole bridge on that, which again, bridges are generally a lot of fun on here, has a sitar solo, there's Hammond organ, and lots of extra percussion. The rest of that song is good. It's just kind of a straightforward kind of rocker with a big chorus, but that bridge absolutely shines, and that sitar solo transitions to a really cool guitar solo. And then even War opens up with, I think it might be an oud. I don't know, but I really like the world music sort of feel on this because there's lots of different influences they're pulling from. The string sections on here, there's a fair amount of orchestration, but I would never call it symphonic because it isn't overbearing. It's the band itself always pretty much out front. Like the string sections don't try to like overtake it. They're there to accent, which that's awesome. A lot more symphonic bands should try that because sometimes symphonic metal gets a little bit too much for me. Now, the flow of this album is very interesting because I feel like a lot of the more proggy moments were right up front with Northwards, Windmane, The Moon, even On the Dark Water with its really cool proggy bridge. Towards the end of the album, it kind of just shifts into more epic territory, and unfortunately, it kind of starts running together a little bit. The title track and Seven Roads Come Together are very similar in terms of like the style and the construction, and I feel like towards the middle of the album, it kind of got a little bit too honed in on the epic feel and kind of left out a lot of the proggy elements. Like they'd throw in the Middle Eastern stuff, which was really cool. It added to the song, but it didn't quite have like the cool proggy flair that I was looking for, and they did so fucking well early on in the album. So I kind of missed that later. So this really started off very interesting for me, but I think the pacing of it, like if songs were moved around a little bit, so a certain sound didn't get to be too much, would have been maybe a little bit better. Like some of those prog tracks toward the end, I think would have been absolutely awesome. But I do like how it ended. My Name is the Night is a power ballad, I guess. It's a duet. It's a true blue duet, and there are female vocals on here. Now, most of them are done by Noah Grumman, who I can't remember the band that she's actually in, but she does the majority of the harmonies with Tommy on here. She does have a really cool, like, sort of breathy voice, and she gets a little bit of a moment to shine on her own on the bridge on the title track. But on My Name is the Night, the vocalist that comes in is Petronella Nettermalm. I don't know really anything about her, but I know she has an incredible voice, and she and Tommy do a legit duet, like playing off of each other in this very soft but dreary song. And I kind of liked it. I'm generally not a power ballad person, but it was really good. It didn't feel like a cheesy love song about who the fuck cares. It actually sounded like a story, like two people communicating in song, except it's not like a lame musical, which most musicals are lame, sorry. The melodies are absolutely wonderful in here. There's a great layered sound. The keys are lush. There's string arrangements. It's a really solid song. And honestly, one of the things I really appreciate about this album is it kind of stays away from being cheesy. A lot of this is epic, but it's still like battle-hardened epic, and when it's proggy, it's just like legit cool, like kind of old school prog, and kind of leans on that sort of Opeth sound, or at least the sound that Opeth did have, all the while throwing in like major chords left and right. Like this isn't all like doom-laden heavy riffs all the time. There's definitely a lot of major chords peppered in, but it's well written and well constructed, and it doesn't really come across as very cheesy. And there's definitely been cheese in the past on Amorphis records. I know, I own all of them. But there was something about this one that like they kind of find that right balance in terms of like having the major chord sounds that sounds kind of happy and triumphant versus the dark somber stuff. This was a really solid album, and I really didn't know what to expect. I liked Queen of Time. I think Under the Red Sun was much better. I think that's a really underrated album, but this is really, really fucking good, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it 4 stars. This is a solid album. It showcases that this band is loaded with top-tier musicians and great songwriters, and they have a huge wheelhouse. The only thing that really kind of hurts it a little bit is kind of the flow of the album. Like, if tracks were placed differently, I think this would be even better. Everyone is pretty much at the top of their game here. S's guitar work is absolutely amazing. The keyboards are pretty much fantastic all over here. There's, again, that mix of 80s synths and Hammond organ stuff that I absolutely fucking love. Tommy's vocals are fucking on point. I mean, he delivered yet another killer vocal performance, which is pretty much all he does deliver. And while this does run a little bit long, there's a lot of cool music on it. So even on these songs that I think might have been filler-esque, there was still something about them that I liked. So if you're a fan of this band, I imagine you probably already got this because Amorphis has a pretty solid fan base. But if you're looking for something epic, triumphant, proggy, and loaded with a fuck ton of different influences from across the globe, I strongly recommend checking this out. This is a solid fucking album, and I'm super glad I already picked it up. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also are on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out, there will be a link down below. And shirts, we're going to be making an announcement soon. Can't wait to show these off, and I can't wait to do a giveaway because we're about to hit 10,000 subscribers, and wow, it's still just fucking nuts. But thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. It's absolutely awesome to do this. It's absolutely awesome you guys have really latched on this channel and have lowered your collective standards in terms of your YouTube viewing altogether, and we definitely appreciate that, at least. But as always, I definitely wanted to thank you guys once again because you all fucking rule, and we will catch you later.